Good afternoon, y'all. Thanks for coming out to the very first Dallas Game Producers event. My name is James Martin. I was the marketing lead for the team. I'm really proud of everything that we've done here. I appreciate you guys coming out. I want to specifically thank the National Video Game Museum and the creative director, John, for allowing us to use the space here for today's event, as well as the space in the museum for the installation that will feature the finalists for the Game Jam. I specifically am very proud of the team because we came together this past spring semester at Dallas College through the video game design program, which means that none of us have specific experience running an event. I'm the marketing lead, and the only marketing I've done before this is as a restaurant server selling extra dessert and drinks. So this is very new for all of us, and I'm really proud of what we did, and I'm very glad that you all are here. So I want to go ahead and introduce the team. I know that not everybody is able to be here today because a lot of our students are online. I know I do most of my classes online, so not everybody is actually local. But I'm James, the marketing lead. This is Jakin here. He was the project lead. And Kiki here in the audience is the project team lead. This is the rest of the team here. I don't think that everybody is here, like I said. But yeah, again, we're all programmers, designers, and we're able to still put this event together. So I'm very excited about that. Next, I want to briefly talk about Dallas College, is where we came together at the Richland campus, is where they have the video game design programming and like artistic design branches. I've been there since 2023 in the spring. It's very accessible. It's a community college, so it's very flexible with your schedule. Like I said, most of us do all of our classes online. And all the professors are very helpful as well. Professor Kura was the professor for this class and kind of the team advisor. He's not able to be here today. He probably would have had more to say about this school, but I don't work there technically. So, Jakin, if you'd like to say a little bit about the Video Game Museum, where we are, I'll let him take over for that part.
All right, hi everybody. So, as you know, the National Video Game Museum is one of the few, and really few in global terms, of museums that focus on supporting and establishing a strong presence for video game preservation. And when I say preservation, what I'm talking about is when folks created games back in 80s, 90s, etc., oftentimes the tools that they used to make those games, the platforms, the systems, the code, is really not able to be replicated in the sense of today's software and hardware standards. And so what I mean by that is we quite literally lose access to games and to the experiences, the pleasure, the enjoyment of retro games as they were intended at that time. So preservation for video games is an opportunity to quite literally preserve the experience and preserve the code, preserve everything about a game so that people today, tomorrow, and in future generations can experience those games as they were intended. The National Video Game Museum is dedicated to preserving games, but also showcasing how games can impact the world. Once the event ends today, you should all have received a wristband to have access to the National Video Game Museum, and that's where you'll see exhibits of various kinds, arcade cabinets, all of the systems and platforms you could even dream of. I mean, some of you might have grown up with a lot of those platforms, and some of you might be newer to gaming and have only played on, let's say, Nintendo Switch or PlayStation 5 or something like that. Regardless, you will find a lot of the history a lot of the history of video games here at the National Video Game Museum. And then lastly, the big importance of the National Video Game Museum is their legitimacy and collaboration with the Dallas Game Producers by providing us an opportunity to showcase game developers who want to pay homage to the amazing games from 80s, 90s, etc. And through this game jam, we were able to talk to the National Video Game Museum, hosting a temporary installment for video games submitted, and we were finalist for this game jam. So that's the purpose of today's overview, and I think we can go on to the next slide. Perfect. Do you want me to talk about this one? Sure. So, so for our finalists through the Game Jam, we selected 2 finalists who are here today, and we'll introduce them very shortly. They each have brief presentations, but before we get them going, actually, for Eagle Top Gaming, if we want to go ahead and get you up over here, we can, we'll have your slideshow coming up here, and we can put it up. But if you can actually swap the windows to the Firefox browser, we have a trailer that we would love to play for you.
Just gameplay.
Yeah, it's just some gameplay footage, and if you want to go to about minute 2:40, that works. Doesn't have to be right at 2:40. You'll see a big portion of the gameplay here. And unfortunately, I don't know if we're getting sound from the browser, but no worries. This is just to give you an idea of the kind of homage to retro gaming, specifically in this regard to Heavy Gear, as an influence from the developer of what we were looking for in the video jam solution. We were looking not necessarily for like polished, amazing graphics, anything like that, but gameplay, game style, art style, etc. And so this had definite callbacks to some retro games, and we really appreciate this solution. So why don't we go ahead and run it over to our developer. Perfect, and then we'll get your slideshow up in just a sec.
I was asked to give a brief presentation on my submission to this game jam. I'm going to introduce myself and then go over some development elements. And then I'm going to give a retrospective on the project, some thoughts, and some areas where I could probably expand this demo or some elements that were cut, and just broadly mention future plans I have moving forward. Feel free to jump to the next slide. My name is Gabriel Holzapfel. I initially graduated from Richland College, which is an excellent game program, in 2015. After that, I worked as a indie developer making VR games at 10th Reality for about 4 years. I now work as a mental health coach at an organization called Healthy Gamer, and I am going back to community college and hoping to get a bachelor's in computer science to flesh out the more programming aspect of game design. And I've been kind of a modder and making games on my own time ever since 2011 when I got my hands on Halo Custom Edition. I saw this game jam in my email and it seemed like a really nice theme. And I enjoyed a lot of 90s games, a lot of shooters from that era, so I decided to submit what I can. Okay. The concept I settled on, since it's associated with the National Video Game Museum, this seemed like a pretty appropriate topic since Heavy Gear in many regards is considered abandonware. It kind of falls in that category of games that don't really carry into the future very well because of the code base and hardware and compatibility. So I hope to shed some light on that. It's also a game I very much enjoy. The longer kind of time frame of this game jam, where a lot of game jams are like a few days or weeks, this was closer to a month, so I knew I had a bit more time to flesh out the idea for this jam. Heavy Gear 2 in particular has a really fun opening cinematic that I decided to draw most of my inspiration from and just see what I can do to kind of recreate the feel and theme that is showcased in that cinematic. Go and jump to the next slide. What I started with, I don't know if y'all have heard the phrase, like, there's really nothing more permanent than a temporary solution. I found that pretty true in my development. So what I resolved to do during this project is don't settle for temporary things. So I knew if I just gray boxed it and then moved on, I would get caught up developing mechanics and would not be able to get back to the environment. So for the first week, I just slowed down, did my best to block out the environment and get it to a place where, not necessarily finished, but in a place where I would be happy submitting the project in that state. I'm going to jump to the next slide. After that, I moved on to the enemy design and the AI to make things dynamic. Luckily, this particular level has a laser turret that's static, so that was a nice kind of starting point, very simple AI. I wanted to make sure that the enemies were both dynamic when you shot them, so you knew when you were doing damage and when you killed them, and also telegraph their moves to a certain extent, so it wasn't too unforgiving when people played. In terms of player systems, that was kind of the heart of this demo. I initially drew from an old concept I had made, old prototype as a base. However, I needed to replace most of the models and assets and build in the weapon systems and the HUD, which were missing from that prototype. And the next thing I focused on after the player was moving was just playability, knowing this is a demo and it's going to be played by people who aren't really familiar with the franchise or just are playing it quite casually. I wanted to make sure the controls were up front and like the first thing that the player saw, and also very easy to access, since that typically is the biggest limiting factor for these types of games is how they control. I wanted to stay on that slide for a minute if you can. I made the damage quite forgiving and added some cover. I made sure to make the objectives very clear. I put them both on the HUD and radar, and then also had a soft reset on the boundaries just to redirect the player toward the objectives to keep people focused and make sure there was a clear ending state and death state that was clear for the player's feedback. We can move on now. Thank you. In retrospective, there's certain elements of this project I'm fairly proud of. There's many elements that could be improved. I was pretty happy with the reverse engineering of just the look and feel of the Heavy Gear demo. It was almost like a detective game, trying to look at those old cinematics and see what could be shifted and how the structures were made. The gear movement, though it could still use a lot of work, I'm pretty happy. It does feel quite authentic to how the original games played and feel. The HUD elements were actually surprisingly satisfying to implement. I initially wasn't even sure if I was going to have a radar, but it turns out it really helps with the player direction and keeping them on track. Projectile backtracing, that's a fairly technical thing, but it's something that I didn't think would work very well, but turns out was a quite effective way to have projectiles that also are very reliable when impacting things. In terms of areas to expand, there's plenty of things. The original cinematic, for example, has the Heavy Gears have missiles that they can shoot. So I could add more reactive AI, make them make better choices, more combat options for the player, additional weapons, better player animations and feel, in particular the head bob for the gear. If you played the original Heavy Gear 2, it has great feel in terms of when the player moves around and how the camera reacts. Some more cohesive sound and particle design, and then some things that didn't make the demo that I had on my list, but we'll have to implement at another time, is some controller support, so it plays a bit easier. The body-mounted weapons for the player, more complex staged objectives, more combat states for the tanks to use, and enemy gears that you can fight, or enemy or ally gears that you can command. I do plan on getting more feedback through playtesting, both here and other places I can share the demo. I want to do another pass at the art, animations, and sound, and implement those missing features. And this is the Discord link. If I'm looking to meet more local developers, that's kind of why I'm here. I kind of like game devs. It's an awesome mix of both technical and people who like both art and the technical element. And I'm Eagle Top Gaming on YouTube. I do some tutorials there. And if not, I think that's it.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay.
And that was really cool to see your insights about how you approach the Game Jam submission, so thank you for that. And so for our second finalist, we have Comet and Tidbit. And Comet and Tidbit has a really unique playstyle, really harking back to those days of, like, for me, just such a 90s feel for those adventure, action, fun, platforming type of games. It was also kind of hard, but I'm also not the best game as well. So why don't we take a look at the trailer for this one, and then we can get you up here, Gabriel, and we'll get your slides up in just a second. But let's take a look at your trailer first.
All right. My name is Keith Willett. I am a game developer from Garland. I am a game art student from Full Sail. I graduated in 2021, and I'm mostly just a hobbyist. And so for my project I submitted my project Common Tidbit, which is a passion project I've been working on for a very long time. It's it's a really cool game, I think. So I'm going to give more of an overview of what the game is intended to be, and what's intended to be. So the story I have for the game is it's supposed to take place on like a kind of a planetary, universal exploration kind of thing, like the old kind of games where you explore different worlds and go to different planets. Like every level you go to, it's a completely different art style. Like if you remember, like in games like Spyro, where you go to one gateway and you go like to a forest, another world is like a technological world. It's just everything I want to try to make it as different as possible. And so the story of the game is the technological character Tidbit is having an issue on this home planet where there's a virus that's corrupting the computers of his world, and so he's sent to try to save his planet, and on his way from that planet, he crash lands onto Comet's home world, which is a lot more primitive. And together, they work together to save the universe from the virus and all these other things that are currently affecting like their world. So, as I said in the previous slide, Tidbit is a robot who is from the planet Hydra. As you see, it's a little more technological. He's a young robot. But he has centuries of knowledge from all the different Hydronians that came from before him. And he is a detective with his partner Cameron, who was on the last slide. And so he is going to Comet's homeworld, which is Kimian. Comet is a little boy who is different on this home planet. He's an outcast, and so he's trying to prove himself as a hero. And so he tries to be a hero. The inspirations I drove from this project was many different 3D platformers of the time. So Crash Bandicoot is my favorite game of all time. I've been playing it when Crash 4 came out. I was very excited and happy. It was probably my favorite game. And so that game was the basis of like the movement system, and one of the big mechanics is like collecting stardust through breaking crates, like doing missions and things like that. And that was directly like inspired by Crash Bandicoot. Spyro is also another big inspiration, more so in like the world design, as I was explaining earlier. And on top of that, the companion character that Spyro has is very similar to Tidbit with how I approached his design. So Spyro has a companion named Sparks, and it is how you tell his health, right? So the different colors that show the different stages of Spyro's health, and so Tidbit also reflects that in my gameplay. Tidbit has different thruster colors, and each thruster color relates to their current health status. And another thing that Sparks does that I thought was really fun is that he's very interactive with the world. So when there's gems around, Sparks will go and collect the gems, and it makes it more interactive than just running over the gems. And so with Tidbit, I try to make sure to also make it interactive. So when boxes will be broken and stars will be flying everywhere, instead of you having to walk over every piece, your little robot will go and zip through and collect everything. And so, my other inspiration is Banjo-Kazooie. Not a whole lot was inspired by this one, other than Banjo-Kazooie themselves. I thought that the idea of having 2 characters and 1 character is just such a really cool idea. And so, like Banjo-Kazooie, I think is the best version of this. Like Banjo, Kazooie all have different move sets that like Kazooie's that they're doing or Banjo's doing, and it's very obvious that they're doing different things. So I try to combine that kind of synergy with my game so that when you're playing as Comet and Tibet, you don't feel like you're playing as just Comet or just Tibet. You're playing as both Comet and Tibet. So like certain moves, like I have a dash move where if you jump and you press the jump button again, he'll do a dash, and the way it works is Tibet just pushes them. And then there's times where you're running with the shield, and Tibet will give you another extra push. There's a lot of pushing. You know, he's a little dude. And so why I chose to work on this project is like I feel like 3D platformers are a dying breed. I think the only 3D platformer I can really remember coming out in recent years is Astrobot, and that game is also very 90s feeling. I feel like it harkens back to all the good things that all these old 3D platforms used to do, which is to go through different adventures, just be very creative. And so this project is very close to my heart because of the fact that 3D platformers were like my childhood and honestly my adulthood as well. And so that's why I chose to make it. Okay, so the challenges of this project all relate to time. I think as developers, we all know that game jams can be kind of strict with their time frame. And so like when this one was a month jam instead of a 2-day jam, it was very relieving. It felt like a blessing. But also, it allowed scope creep to interfere. So I had the big issue of I was like, okay, I got a month. I can do all kinds of stuff. So I was like, okay, I want to put bonus levels. I'm going to put different characters. I'm going to try to make different environments. I want to like really maximize my time. I didn't get to do most of that. I was only really able to make one environment, but and because like these are like little case studies of like the different things that took more time than I was expecting to. Like this little help pilot, I modeled it, I rigged it, I animated it, programmed it, and I thought it was going to take only a couple hours, but it ended up taking 2 weekends, which, as an adult, I'm sure we all know that like, weekends are very important when it comes to game development. So that was a big wake-up call. And the other character, the Surreal character, I thought it would be really fun to have like a writing companion to help you kind of show like, how to explore the world more. And that took 1.5 weeks to create, like from the ground up. And so that's already like half the game jam. So like, and then like these stages challenges were supposed to be like different like bonus levels where it tested your abilities to platform and like fight in the different combat scenarios. I didn't even get the point of even starting them. But like all these challenges like culminated to like kind of show like how important it is to prioritize and like find where like you're struggling and just like either focus on those struggles or to just find what works and just build on what works. That's my game. My YouTube channel is Keith Makes Games, if anyone's interested. I have an itch here, also called Keith Makes Games, in case you want to keep in touch. Thank you.
All right, thank you both for presenting here. We're going to get pulled up the jukebox that we've made that's going to be the installation, the temporary installation in the museum featuring both of these finalists. That is the program that we made that will feature both games in it. And it will, again, we went for a jukebox theme to kind of fit with the theme of the game jam. So when people come to the museum and they boot it up, it will give both of the games as options, and they'll be able to play the demos of each game. So right here, as you're seeing, it's a little scrolling screen. We had it set up to allow for as many or as few games as entered. Jesse Serrano was the lead developer on that. I don't think that he's here today. But I'm very excited about this. This is what is going to be the installation of the museum to show off both of y'all's games. I'm going to let Jacob boot that up and get it running. And just like that, it runs. So we're going to have that in the museum for anybody to see. I don't know the exact time frame, but I know that it's going to be there, and I love the museum, so I'll be coming back to play it personally.
Yeah. We'll be in touch with the finalist about the kind of details about it.
Okay, so yeah, we'll get back in touch with you guys for that.
See, but we just wanted to give you kind of a glimpse of both games real quick, how you get to them on the jukebox.
He just wanted to test out the gravity, make sure it works. Well, thank you guys for coming. Again, we've got those wristbands out for you guys. We've still got the lobby set up here, snacks and drinks and everything. Feel free to mingle, network. We've got the wristbands, so I'll be hanging out here as well, and then I'll come see y'all in the museum as well.
Did anyone have any questions for the developers?
Did anybody have any questions for the developers? Yes.
Is there a controller for the jukebox?
That is a good question.
We don't know yet. So the details of the jukebox are still going to be worked out with the National Video Game Museum. But it's possible. It's possible.
My game's 10,000 times better.
So we will get that information, and we'll reach back out to you guys as well and get any other details that y'all need for that. Anybody else have any other questions? Okay. Thank you guys for coming. I really appreciate you coming out. Again, I'm really proud of the team that put this all together, and I'm really excited to come meet you guys out there. Thank you guys so much.